What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the greatest podcast in the world, Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I am your host, the dad bod god, the truth, the beard, the bald, and the freaking beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight, man, we got a special one for you guys. We got BKFC fighter Brian Maxwell, Mr. Red Rims himself, in the house. But before we get into that conversation, I want to take a quick pause for the cause and tell you about our sponsor for tonight's episode, and that is healthvape.com. Now listen, healthvape.com is your healthy vaping alternative. All of their products are no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals. They help restore your energy while giving you the vital boost you need to get through your day. So do yourself a favor, go and check out healthvape.com. Check out all their vape and pod products. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. And please, like I say on every episode, if you can please make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the bell to stay fucking notified and all that good shit. Also, if you're listening on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review. It helps with our analytics and it helps us reach more amazing people with more amazing conversations. So get to clicking and get to tapping in. But without further ado, let's get into my conversation with the one and only Brian Maxwell, baby. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the greatest podcast in the world, Shooting the Shit Uncensored. And my guest at this moment is one of my favorite people in the entire world. And I know I say that about every guest that I have, but this time I actually mean it. It's Mr. Red Rims himself, Brian Maxwell. Welcome to Shooting the Shit Uncensored.
Thank you for having me. I don't got the red glasses on today, though. Hey, I don't got my signature glasses on today. I got my black ones on today.
There you go, Mr. Black Rims today. That's what we're going to call you.
Yeah, we can ride with that.
Man, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. This is quite the honor, man. I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man, and for us to have a conversation, dude. It's really cool. I'm excited to have you on.
Yes, sir. Like I said before, appreciate you for having me. I love doing podcasts, man. Podcasts are my thing. I've done thousands of them now, and it's like natural now. So it's like I don't get nervous when I get on a podcast anymore. And even if I've never done a podcast with a person, it's like boom, it's just like natural. It's like I've known them for forever.
You know what? That was the whole reason when I started to do a podcast, is because it's like I'm one of those people. I could like go into any sort of situation and just sort of like get along with like a couple of, you know what I mean? Like a majority of people would just sort of like relate to the conversation with me. And my wife was one of the people who was like, you should start a podcast. Like you have that sort of like conversation type vibe. And I was like, yeah, all right. Then I sort of tried it. I'm like, this is a lot of fun. And, you know, almost 4 years later.
Yeah, man, I love podcasts, man. Like when I first started some years back in like 2008, 2017 and 2018, me and a buddy of mine started one, and we was just doing like Facebook Lives on every Monday and stuff, trying to promote the local MMA scene at that time. And, you know, that's when bare knuckle started to come into fruition a little bit too. And people started talking about it. And, you know, we used to have a show every Monday. And, you know, at first I was like, I've always been a natural when it comes to talking to people. I've always been a people person. But when it came to doing a podcast for the first time, like I was just like nervous and I'd be held back. And then like, you know, it took me probably about 6 months of doing the podcast, and then it was just like boom, it was just natural. And then we started, having guests on and different fighters, and we'd have some fighters come over and meet us and do the Facebook Live with them doing that. And after that, it was game time. And then when I got to bare knuckle, man, it just like, man, podcasts just like around that time. That's when podcasts all over the world just start blowing up. And
Yeah.
I've been on podcasts like a mofo since then. And it's just like it's awesome. I think it's a blessing, and I think it's a way for people to get out what they have in their mind. And people have so many stories that it's like, man, it's wonderful.
Yeah, man. Like I feel, but the thing is as well, like with podcasts as well, like I feel like it gives people an opportunity of freedom of speech. It gives them an
Hmm.
opportunity to get out there and say what they want to say. Like it's funny and crazy, like because I've had responses from people. Like I've had some controversial guests that have said some controversial shit, and like
Oh
people,
God.
but then people get things that people would get angry at me over
Hmm.
shit someone else said, and it's like, come on, man. And it gets to a point of like, all right, what level of intelligence are we dealing with certain people? You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm. Yeah,
sorry.
but yeah, man, it's like I've dealt with that a little bit too. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, you got to voice your opinion. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody
Mm,
has a mouth. It's freedom of speech, and you can say what you. At the end of the day, you can say what you want to say, and if you get canceled, you get canceled. But there's still other platforms so that you can say what you want to say. That's why I like podcasts so much, because podcasts are uncensored and they speak the real. That's why my thing is podcasts and documentaries, because podcasts and documentaries, they let the truth out, man. They let you be able to tell your story and stuff like that. And that's just my thing. I probably watch about between 10 to 15 different podcasts a day that
yeah.
I religiously watch. And that's just my thing that I do during the day. Like when I'm at work, or if I'm not working, I'm listening to a podcast, or, watching a documentary. That's if I'm not at work, or well, if I'm at work, that's what I'm doing. But if I'm in the gym or something, like doing my first part of my workout, I'll have my earbuds in, and I'll be listening to like $1 million worth of game or Vlad TV while I'm doing my workout instead of listening to music. Even before fights now, like when I'm relaxing and just chilling and you know
Yeah.
mentally preparing myself, I'll listen to a podcast, or I'll just sit there and for a few minutes and watch a short documentary on something like of nature or something to ease my mind. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. How good is Vlad TV? Like I'm a huge fan of that shit, eh? I really love his shit.
Oh, I fucks with Vlad TV super hard. Like I watch at least two, maybe three episodes a day, especially when they drop some new stuff. Sometime I'll go back, and if I missed something from way back when, I'll
Yeah.
scroll, and click watch for later, and then I'll watch that. And my favorite episodes with him are with Michael J. White, or Lil Boosie. I love their conversation, because Lil Boosie, he brings something different to Vlad's podcast every time, man. Like, but yeah, I like Vlad TV. You know, Everybody says Vlad is controversial, but hey, that's what podcasts are for. Everything in the world is supposed to be controversial.
But you know what? He did a tweet. Fuck, it would have been like maybe a year ago, and it said something is like people that are addicted to playing video games. It's like
Hmm.
name one positive experience in your life that involved playing video games. It's like, you know what I mean? Like he goes, that's this, and he was kind of like making a point of saying, like, I'm not like sort of quoting him word for word here, but it was like something along that sort of sense. And people were going like losing their fucking mind.
Yeah.
And he's like going, but what I'm saying is like when you are depressed, you fall deeper and deeper into like a video. Like if you're a video game person
Hmm.
going through depression, you're like, no, I don't want to go. I'm just going to sit here and play video games. You know what I mean? Like It's not like you do it when you're in a positive mindset going, yeah, fucking, you know what I mean? Like, it's always like that negative, and people were shitting on him for it. I'm like, this is like, I was just like, this is wild shit.
Yeah, he actually talked about that on a couple of his shows, like right after that. Pardon me, because people were like, they were like flaming him for even saying that. Like, but I mean, it's fucking facts though. At the end of the day, like, what positivity? There's a good point in that and a bad point in that, because sometimes playing video games, I mean, it can help people with depression. It can, you know, help people who have mental issues, and that can be their positive thing in their life is playing video games. And you know, sometimes those people who do play those video games, some of them make millions of dollars on Twitch and stuff. So like, that's a good positive thing. You feel what I'm saying? But you know, also some people just play video games just to be like, like negative, or get on games like Call of Duty or Fortnite, and all they're doing is, you know, talking trash on there the whole time and being negative, when it's just supposed to be like, I mean, of course, Call of Duty and stuff like that. I mean, those games are what those games are, but you don't got to be negative the whole time. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I feel like that's what the whole thing of the internet was built for. Was like the whole thing the internet was built for was pornography. and for trolls. That's for fucking trolls. You know what I mean? And
facts, man.
But bro, like, but you know, that's the thing, man. Like, even in social media, you know, you see people, and it's like, but the funny thing is, like, where you see the people that are being the most negative at other people, it's never the people that are winning at life that are trolling someone that's sort of like on the, you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't see someone like, I don't know, like Anderson Silva, like turning around, like going, "Oh, look at this guy in this amateur boxing fight getting knocked out." Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't see someone laughing, and but like someone who's never been at that point will sit there and laugh, you know, try and be a hater on it. But it was like, so, you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't see like an NBA player shitting on someone who's trying to play ball out the front of their house, or an NFL player, you know what I mean? Like a young kid trying to learn how to like throw a ball. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, actually, to be quite honest, man, some of them do that for real. Some of them are real life trolls. Like some superstars, from being around like so many famous people the past 2 years, and you know, actually digging deep into stuff and actually paying attention to look, some superstars are assholes, man. Like, when some of them have media people, so they don't troll, but some of them that are in control of their social media, some of them be trolling like hell, and sometimes it's hilarious when they troll people. Like, it's not cool, but it's cool at the same time, because that lets you know that they're interacting. Because you know, most people will be like, "Oh man, they're not supposed to do this," or they're quiet, or blah blah blah. But you know, some superstars and famous people, they are some of the biggest trolls, especially when it comes to clapping back at a random person trolling them, but they troll back, and it's even worse. Like that shit to me is hilarious.
yeah, but I mean, like, do you think that fuels the fire as well? Like, if they're responding to trolls, because it's like I've seen it like happen like a few times with celebrities where, like, you know, when someone says something, but it's like that person's got like 2 followers. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like good for you. Like, whatever. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I deal with that from having the amount of followers that I do now. Because before my following really started to grow, I literally had like 1,500 followers, and that was just from being in the local scene, and that was just friends and family following me. And now that I got over 30 some thousand followers, man, I'll get in my inbox sometimes people trolling or shit like that. Sometimes I'll clap back, and sometimes I'll be like, bro, you have literally 3 followers. Why even open your mouth? Like I'm the type of person, I interact with people so much, and you know, deal with fans and followers and stuff, and you know, see people in my local community when I'm out, that you know, me myself, I grew up. I've always been a roaster. Like, I would roast the fuck out of someone, and I've always been like a class clown and shit like that because, my grandma once had a conversation with me and it's like, man, if you got to live life, man. You got to make life fun. And, if you're silly, you're silly. But, there's times when you need to be serious, but there's times that you need to laugh it off or joke about it to get through it. You feel what I'm saying? And that's the person I've always been myself. And I like to laugh a lot. Like clowning and roasting is something that I like to do because it brings joy in it. And I like comedic shit. So that shit is hilarious to me. and dealing with trolls, like if I go on my Instagram live sometime or Facebook live and then I'll read the comments and there's a troll there, I will address it right then and there. And most of the time they don't clap back after that because, like I said, I'm that type of person I will roast you back, or, I will let you know up front, like, hey, I'm not one to play with, because sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's very serious. Two things you don't do with me is talk about my family or step outside of that. Like, because to me, I grew up as always family first, and I try to keep my personal life as private as possible. So those two things, if you're overstepping those boundaries, you got to go, or I got to pull up on you and say something to you about it, or check you in person. You feel what I'm saying? Because I try to keep that separate from fight life, and I'm a protector. I've always been a protector, and that's just what I do. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Like, I think that there's a fine line in trying to promote a fight and to get eyes on a fight. And we probably saw it in like a mainstream sort of like setting, which we saw with Dylan Dennis and Logan Paul, right? Like,
oh yeah, that was mad wild, man. And I will say this: Logan and Jake Paul, after actually training around them and meeting them, those guys, I'd fight either one of them, but those guys are actually not much of assholes as people would think that they are. Because I actually, when I fought on the Mayweather card versus Ocho Cinco Johnson, famous football player, Jake and Logan were at the same resort that we stayed in, and I got to meet both of them, and I mean, they're not as much of an asshole as people really think. They're really just cool, chill guys. They're social media guys, so they put on for social media when it's time to put on for social media.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like even in the fight game as well, for the most part, like there's a lot of, and I feel like probably a lot of fans, I don't know, a lot of fans either may get it or they may not get it as well. But it's like, if they have two guys going out there and going, well, Brian, best of luck in the competition we're about to do tomorrow, mate. Very well. See you out there tomorrow, champion. Yep, we'll see you out there. Or it's like going out there and go, hey, man, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to eat your face. Like, bro, then the fans are going to go, whoa, this is going to be fucking murder. You know what I mean? Or
yes,
like,
sir.
Oh, fuck, these guys are going to go out there and fucking shake hands and, you know what I mean? Like, there's a different level of it. And fans get drawn into more of the drama. So, like, you can't blame fighters for building into that, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, you got to sell it like that sometime. When it's time to put on a show, it's time to put it on a show. And, that's what's messed me up a few times and getting ready for fights, because sometimes I'll fight a person that from fighting for so long, you get to a point where it like literally, I'm not going to say it humbles you, but it sits you down for a second. You feel what I'm saying? And at one point I got to that point of being humbled because I was used to being a certain way. I wrestled most of my life, and, people say wrestlers are the cockiest people in the world and I'm like, I mean, I guess, but I wrestled on so many different levels. It made me that way. I mean, it's a confidence builder, and going into bare knuckle and stuff. I mean, I got humbled, and for a minute there, man, I don't like being humble. Like it's a killer for me. Like, I mean, being humble outside of fighting, I'm that all day. But when it comes to fighting, you have to bring that cocky side out of you. And it's not necessarily cocky. I mean, it's big confidence, as they say these days. big confidence, super big confidence these days, and sometimes you got to bring that out. And here recently, I brought that back out of me, and man, I've been fighting so much better, and it's like boom, like a whole lot of shit has changed.
Yeah. Let me let me ask you, like, let's go back, because you said you had a chance to sort of train, like you said, train with Logan and Jake Paul. Like, what was that like? Like, how was like their training? Because their camp is very much like in-house, right?
Yeah, I mean the way we did it was when you do your open workouts at like the big fights and stuff. So it was super brief. But with me, I'm the kind of person that I'm always aware of my surroundings and I peep everything. Like, and plus being in a vicinity with those guys, they got mad people with them at all times, like security and all that. Like it's wild. Like that was my first experience with dealing with like being around people who are famous and they got a lot of security. When I tell you they got a lot of security, they got a lot of security. Like it's crazy, and that was one of the times I actually had security for the first time too. And the security that I had looked like rent-a-cops, and the security yeah, and the security they had looked like fucking former NFL football players. I was like, well, damn, I know my status here, but it was all good. But like I said, man, those guys they actually train harder than people think they do.
Yeah,
I will say this: Jake is a better fighter than Logan, but Logan is a all around fight wise. Logan is a better athlete, but boxing wise, Jake is the better boxer, in my opinion. I would, like I said, I would fight.
I was gonna say,
I would fight.
I was gonna say, like Logan to me is the better promoter.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, man. Plus with his brand, the Prime brand, like he's got to be a promoter. And with him wrestling in the WWE, also that's like boom, that's his chance to shine. And plus he's a sponsor of them too, so that's just like boom. And I mean, Jake promotes himself well too, but not as good as Logan. But Logan is the better all around athlete between the two, but Jake is the better boxer in my opinion.
Oh, hands down, man, hands down. Like I think, like, could you imagine if like Jake went into BKFC?
I actually think that they have tried. That would be cool, just because of the amount of views and different people that it would bring in, and the money for that fight card, man. Everybody getting a good payday. I'd love to be on that fight card, to be quite honest. Shit, I'd be his opponent if it came down to it. But like I said earlier, I'd fight either one of them. I mean, of course, I would have to hype it up. There will be animosity because that's just me all over again, and I do that just to hype it up, and that'd be cool. But if either one of them decided to come to BKFC, like that'd be crazy for BKFC, because the one YouTuber, Bryce Hall, came over, and that was big also. So imagine if one of the Paul brothers or a guy like KSI came over, that would be wild.
What do you think about Bryce Hall's fight?
I mean, Bryce Hall, he fought my boy G, man. Like, I'm still in the air about that fight. Some people, this is how the internet works, and we all know this. When something goes wrong and a YouTuber wins a fight, they think it's a myth, or somebody got paid off, or this. That. No, people. Sometimes fighters, when fighters are fighting, when certain situations happen, some people really do get hurt in there, man. And sometimes if you can't continue, you can't continue because the injury is that bad, man. Like, and what happened in that fight? It was a good fight. Bryce Hall showed that he was not a slouch at all. He's not a slouch, and he wasn't going to be a walkover. But in my wholeheartedly opinion, even training beside the guy that he fought, my boy G Perez, G would have ended up, based on his experience, would have ended up knocking Bryce Hall out if he wouldn't have got, hurt his shoulder. But, if you watch that fight entirely, and if you watch combat sports for years in general, you would know, like, sometimes people really do get hurt in those fights, and sometimes you can't continue, and you got to swallow your pride. Some people won't swallow their pride and try to fight hurt, and that hurts them. But sometimes, man, my coach has always told me, because I'm super prideful myself. Sometimes you got to swallow your pride and you not risk further injury, man. Because if you think about it, in that fight, it's probably that fight has a lot of views. I mean, millions of views, because it's Bryce Hall. He's got a big following. But if you really look at that fight, man, I mean, it was going to be good. Like, it's the most talked about fight on the fight card, to be quite honest. And it was still good as long as it lasted, regardless of what happened. You feel what I'm saying? All pride to the side.
Because Perez got thrown down or something, like he landed awkwardly on the shoulder.
Yeah.
That's caused the injury.
Yeah.
And he got up and continued to fight through the rest of the round, if I'm correct. You could see he was like, from memory, I think it was the left shoulder. Like he was, because I think he was fighting orthodox and he had to switch to southpaw, and he was like leading with his right around. But yeah, like you could see there was something wrong, like for the rest of the round. Like he was hurt bad.
Yeah, man. Sometimes that adrenaline, it'll help you push through to finish something out. But once you get in between rounds, sometimes that adrenaline just it wears off for like a quick second, and then you're like, "Oh my God, what the fuck just happened?"
Yeah, for real. Do you feel like, because if someone's unable to continue, right? Should that be a win for the other person? Like, I mean, I think, okay. So for one thing, like if someone's got a really bad cut above the eye or something like that, okay, that's damage sustained in the fight. But if they've like tripped over and twisted their knee and they can't fucking stand, like, should that really be an L for them?
In my opinion, I at that point, it should either be a pending how many rounds the fight is, and pending the round. I feel like it either should be a no contest or a draw at that point, and then they run it back later. You feel what I'm saying? Because I've actually just recently had to go through that, and I got disqualified for that in my last fight. I got dropped several times in the fight, but I got up each and every time, and I feel that I would always, in the rounds that I got dropped in, and the later parts of those rounds, I was still the round in the win the round at the like at the later parts. But that last and final fifth round that we went to, I caught my second win. I was on top of my shit, and I dropped him. And what got me was, when you're in the moment and used to doing the same combination over and over again, it's muscle memory. And I got caught up in a moment, and while my opponent was going down and he was down on a knee, he was still holding my leg, and it's a part of my combination that I want to and hit the body sometime. It just happened to happen that way. And, I got disqualified for hitting a ground opponent, but at the same point in time, the guy that I fought, I feel like he could have continued, even though he was bleeding like hell. If he would have continued, I think they would have stopped the fight anyways, because of how bad I had cut him up. Because he had, oh man, his face was cut up badly, and he was bleeding from everywhere. I think I told someone the other day, I'm tired of being silent. And you can actually see it from the video that I even posted on my IG and my other social medias, that, once I hit him while he was down, he looked at the ref until he got confirmation from the ref, and then he flopped after that. You can clearly see it, that he was done. He was looking for his way out, and he knew that if he didn't continue, that they were going to disqualify me and give him the win. And this guy is actually, I have no animosity towards this guy. He's actually one of the first 5 people that I met when I came into BKFC. And now it's just like, man, we know the truth. This guy was done. Like I basically got robbed of a win in my own backyard. And now, I'm not talking too much shit about the referee in that fight, but I'm going to talk shit about the referee in that fight. And everybody can clearly see it too. The referee was as someone said on TikTok, the referee was 90 yards away and should have been 2 yards away instead of 90 to help prevent that. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. So, but circumstances like that, like we were talking about, I feel like it should either be a no contest or draw at that point. And then, when the dust settles and everybody's healthy, they should run it back. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, BKFC is still pretty new, so I feel like the rule set is one of those things that are going to keep evolving over time and seeing what they can do. But for you, like, why did you go? Like, what was it about bare knuckle for you that you went, yeah, this is where I belong?
At that point in time in my life when I got introduced to bare knuckle, actually one of my homies, he actually just fought Friday. He's a former BKFC champion, Reggie Barnett. He was the first person out of my state of Virginia here in the United States to go to a BKFC tryout, and they picked him. And to show it, we fought on several fight cards as amateurs. And I think one fight card is professional MMA fighters. And I like to show the homies support, even if we don't get along. I'll still watch. If they're fighting on a big platform, still watch them, and to show him support. We ordered the pay-per-view to watch him fight. To let him know that we are behind you and we're supporting you. And then BKFC 2 came around, and one of my training partners, Bruce Abramsky, he got offered a fight, and so we were preparing for that, and he asked me to be his corner, and I was like, sure, I'll be your corner. I mean, I've been around you long enough, so I know how you fight, I know how to command, and this, that, and the third. And I'm telling you, when I got to that, BKFC 2 was already like, the feeling of being there was like, wow, I've never had this much attention ever, and I wasn't even fighting. Like when we got there, the cameras were on me instead of my training partner. I'm like, no, I'm not fighting. He's fighting. And I'm like, man, I just fought a Bellator veteran, a guy that fought in Bellator like literally 3 weeks prior to that. And I'm like, I actually got offered a fight then, but I just, I'm the type of person, I don't like to take nobody else's shine in their moment. So I didn't take the fight then, but it interested me. But also at that same point in time, when I was actually getting looked at by the PFL, it's the Professional Fighters League now. But at that point in time, they were making the crossover from the World Series of Fighting, and they were actually looking at me too, because I was very big into MMA at that point in time, and I technically had a choice to make. And a couple months later, I decided to make that choice, because within that time, it was the anniversary of my brother passing away, and then his favorite team in the world is the Philadelphia Eagles. Boo! But BKFC just happened to have tryouts in Philadelphia, and I told myself I would never go to Philly, but somehow it was destiny for me to go to Philly because of my brother, to get my chance to do something, because I'm the type of person, me and my brother would always, before he passed away, we always would have conversations of me being a go-getter. I don't like stuff to be handed to me or given to me on a silver platter. I didn't grow up that way. I've always been taught to, if you want something, you got to go get it, and you got to be an opportunist, because when the opportunity comes, it may not come back around again. And that trial in Philly was around the time that I needed to go, because it was destined for me to go, I shall say. And I went, I showed up, I showed out. Even though I was injured at that point in time, I still went, just because, I mean, I'm that type of person that I got to go get it. That was my opportunity. I didn't feel like if I didn't go, I wouldn't get another opportunity. So I went to that tryout, and they told me what I needed to do. I needed to get another win under my belt to be approved in other states. So I did that, and then literally at the last MMA fight I ever had, one of their representatives actually surprised me, and literally 10 minutes after my fight was over, after I was getting,
Checked
you know,
over.
checked over and stuff by the doctors, they called me back to the ring, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Why they called me? And I got offered a fight there, and I was shocked. I accepted right then and there because I was not going to say no. And plus, I was thinking, I hadn't heard nothing from PFL in like over 2 weeks. So I got to make a decision. So I accepted the fight right then and there. And from then on, I've been around since BK. My first fight was BKFC 8. Now we're on BKFC. We just had BKFC 52. So
Well,
that tells you how long I've been around. And I've actually been around the organization since BKFC 2. So it's my
damn.
home. And like I'm loving it. It's giving me so much bigger opportunities to be able to do stuff. Shit, it even gave me the opportunity to fight on a Floyd Mayweather card, and that's been a dream of mine since I stepped into combat sports.
Yeah,
And
for real.
when that part of my journey happened, I was skeptical, surprised, in shock, and super emotional all at the same time because it's like, wow, this is really happening because like I made a social media post way back, like actually it's probably about 10 years ago around this, like around the springtime of this time of year. And I made a prediction that one day that I will fight for Floyd Mayweather or be on a, Mayweather card. And just so happened 8 years later, it happened. And
Yeah,
like, I'm still shocked about that till this day.
man, that's willing something into existence, bro. That really is. You know what I mean? And that just goes to the power of positivity and willing something into your life, bro. That's an amazing accomplishment, bro. And I feel like to get to that level, like to fight on a Mayweather card, like, bro, that's some fucking big time shit, man. That's awesome.
Hell yeah, man. Especially being on his main card, like, and
Yeah,
being the first fight on a Mayweather main card. That to me was everything. That let me know that all the trials and tribulations that I've been through, all the hard work, all the hard sweat, the hard work, the blood, the sweat, all the tears, all the emotions, and all the extra shit that has came with this fight business. That look, ma, I finally made it to a super big stage, the biggest stage on the planet. BKFC is a big ass stage too, but the Mayweather experience, I mean, that's the biggest boxing platform in the world because of Mayweather. Mayweather is on it, and you know how people are with Mayweather fights. Mayweather is this this generation's Mike Tyson. You know what I'm saying? He's going to draw a crowd, and being able to fight on a card like that, man, it's just like, man, I've been doing this for a long ass time. I'm constantly in a gym. Uh, I've had a few injuries. I've bled a lot. I sweated a lot, and I've put in hours and hours and hours on top of hours to get to this point. Because when I first started fighting, I literally trained maybe an hour a day, maybe 2 hours in a boxing gym that they didn't want to help. They didn't want to help me. And then the next phase of training, I trained in a daycare center on a rug. Like, if that don't let you know that I started at the bottom, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And being where I'm at now, I'm in a big ass gym, nice facility, and starting where I started and coming from where I came from, man, it's huge and that's big in itself. And like I said, fighting on a Mayweather card and then having to fight my most favoriteest football player of all time, that was crazy too.
Dude, that's wild, man. But like, so let me ask you, like, to train for BKFC and to go through a tryout for BKFC, like, how is the training different, like, for a bare knuckle fight compared to say, like, because BKFC is basically boxing without the gloves, right?
hmm
There's no grappling, there's no kicking, it's just stand up boxing, well, bare knuckle boxing. Like, what's the
Mhm.
difference in training between fights? Like, if you're training for a boxing fight or if you're training for a BKFC fight?
I mean, it's kind of when it comes to a boxing fight and a BKFC fight, you kind of train the same per se, but some things that uh, are the difference between the both is, in boxing you got gloves on, so anytime you swing at something, you're going to hit something. But with bare knuckle, you got to actually start to work on your timing and your distancing with stuff because there's no padding there. It's all fist, and you got that much more of a, let's just say it's a science of inches and centimeters when it comes to bare knuckle because like I said, with a boxing glove, you got that big ass glove on, so anything you swing at, you're basically going to hit. But with a bare knuckle, you're not going to always hit your target. So you've got to become what they call is a sniper and be able to pick your shots because anything you get hit with bare knuckle, it's going to hurt regardless. I don't care if it's just to the body, to your arm, or anything, or even your damn thigh. A bare knuckle is going to hurt regardless. You feel what I'm saying? And I train the same way for bare knuckle like I do for a boxing fight. But you also got to train to go with your timing, not necessarily with your partners of going, like you're in fight mode when you. Sometimes I train with just my bare knuckles to help with my timing and my distancing and stuff like that, because if you get into a fight and you've had boxing gloves on your whole fight camp, that messes you up. You feel what I'm saying? Because you're off by this much, and I think that hurts people. And since I personally start doing stuff bare knuckle, even hitting a heavy bag, hitting mitts with my striking coach, and doing some sparring with my training partners around this area and the other gyms that I go to train with people. And working with bare knuckle, working on my distance and my timing and stuff, it's the evolution of the game, man, and it's actually helped me get better in my game also, and I'm going to continue to get better in my game, and that's one thing that helps, man, is the distance and the measuring and stuff like that. So that's the biggest difference. But like I said, training wise, I still do the same stuff until it comes down to that. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, for real.
And I still do MMA stuff too. Like I still do my jiu-jitsu, and I'll work with the Muay Thai guys in my gym also. So I try to still stay well rounded while also just focusing on bare knuckle at the same time too. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Like, would you be able to take an MMA fight, like if the opportunity came?
Hell yeah! Even though MMA is not my focus, if I got offered an MMA fight and it was legit, the numbers were right, and all the stars aligned, I would take an MMA fight. And to be quite honest, if I do take an MMA fight, I feel sorry for the MMA fighter that I have to fight, just for the simple fact of I've been doing bare knuckle for so long now, and been focusing on boxing these last couple of years. Like my striking before I crossed over and made the transition was I'm not going to say the best. It was MMA striking. It was mediocre. But now, if I do an MMA fight, my striking is, I'm not going to say it's top tier. It's a work in progress, but it's at a very high level than it was before. You feel what I'm saying? So striking was my thing, but it wasn't my thing when I was an MMA fighter. My thing as an MMA fighter were my leg kicks, and then having the ability to take people down at any point in time that I felt like it, because I wrestled all most of my life, and I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, so that a wrestler mixed with jiu-jitsu is a dangerous person, especially when it goes to the ground. And my thing was I'm going to either submit you when I get to the ground, or I'm going to ground and pound you to death and win the fight that way. And that's how I won a lot of fights. I've got some knockouts on my amateur record, but most of them are a lot of submissions too. Even as a professional too, on my MMA record, I got those submission wins too. So yeah,
it's amazing how like the wrestlers or the people with the wrestling background, when they come into MMA, how good they are with their hands. Like it's almost like, I mean, you see these guys that are like great, like wrestlers, jiu-jitsu guys, they come in and then they like master the art of like striking, and then it's just start like just absolutely just destroying people on their feet.
Yeah, man, and also that comes around from me particularly, man. I used to have to let's just say that back in the day when I was still in high school and sometimes in college, when I would go to parties and stuff and shit got out of hand, I was the one that my friends pulled to the side, was like, go handle that. I would get into fights with a lot of people at parties and stuff in high school and college. And, as naturally people try to grab you when they fight you. So
Yeah,
me being a wrestler, that was my shit. You feel what I'm saying? I want you to grab me. Till this day, as a grown ass man and having the training that I have, I still dare people to grab me because I'm going to pick you up and dump you on your head and ground the pound the fuck out you. And that's what I used to do at parties back in the day. I would pick somebody up, slam them, and ground and pound the hell out of them, not knowing what the hell I was doing, just for the simple fact that at that point in time in my life, I was
yeah.
nothing but a pure wrestler and didn't know nothing about mixed martial arts besides doing karate as a kid. You feel what I'm saying? And that was my shit. So that transition in its own, coming over to MMA and learning jujitsu, that made me that much more dangerous. And thankfully, I've only had to put my hands on two people out here on the streets of outside of fighting, and it didn't go very well for them because once I grabbed them, they were like, "Oh, okay." You feel what I'm saying? So, yeah,
I feel like when people realize someone's credentials is when that person gets a hold of them. You know, like someone gets a hold of it. There's like someone, but it's amazing, like how quick people are to try and get into like something in the street with someone they don't know. Like they'll someone and go like, yeah, fuck this guy. Like, hey man, like, you know what I mean? Like they're so prepared to get into this physical altercation with someone that they have no idea who the fuck they are. And it's
yeah,
like,
like
you know what I mean? But also the thing is, but also the people that want to do this shit have had no fucking, like no combat sports training whatsoever, have never thrown a fucking punch, like have probably never been punched in the face in their life either, to be fair. But
yeah.
they're so eager to get into that altercation, you know what I mean? Not knowing. And it's wild.
Yeah, man. I think it's funny because it's like if I'm out or even if I'm at work or anywhere I go, I people watch, and judging by some people's actions, I'm like, man, I wish a motherfucker would. I would fuck you up. Like I do that sometimes, and you know, if people don't know who I am, I do not broadcast myself as a fighter because I don't. Walking around, I do not look like a fighter, and it's because I guess since I wear glasses and I don't dress like a fighter or act typical out here like a fighter, all cocky in the streets telling people I don't tell people I'm a fighter unless they ask or they know who I am from social media or watch me on TV. That's when people know. But like even around the area that I live in, like I mean, it's a great area, but the areas around it are quite shitty. And like the activity that I see it on the news and shit going around here, I'm like, man, some of these cats would not make it if they were fighters. And you know how it is on social media, people posting street fights and shit all the time. I'm gonna go ahead and say street hands and combat sport hands are two different things, two totally different things. Because you can get if you fight an MMA fight or a person that does combat sports in general and then put them against a street fighter, you should already know the winner there, unless the person is just that fucking cock diesel strong that there's no no way to fucking beat them unless you put a bullet in them. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like there's the difference between being a professional fighter and then being the toughest uncle at a barbecue. You know what I mean? Like,
Facts.
yeah, like I mean, like you could be the toughest guy in your neighborhood or on your street at the street barbecue. You no doubt you could probably beat half the fucking dad bods fucking walking around. But then,
Facts.
like, you know what I mean? But then you go and you start getting it, like, even go into a gym, right? A boxing gym, and go up against an amateur boxer. You were going to get smoked.
Facts. You'll get your boots knocked off. And I'm telling you, from being in a fight game for so long, I've seen that from time and time again. And, you know, I've also seen that from military guys too. Like, I love the military. I support the military to the fullest. And whether it's here in my country or any country in the world, if you're in the military, I commend you and think you're a badass person regardless, because that was what I wanted to do if I wouldn't have got, you know, any offers to wrestle in college and stuff. I wanted to go straight to the military after high school. But, you know, I've seen that happen with military guys too, come in the gym and they say they have military combative training and come into a gym and get their boots knocked off by the worst fighter in the gym, or the fighter that just started 2 weeks ago, and they get smoked by that guy. And that's wild in my opinion, because, you know, because sometimes one time at my gym, we had this military guy come in and he, you know, he is hyping himself up like he is the baddest man on the planet. And you know, he's a fit looking guy. He's pretty swole. He's got the, you know, got the muscles and his veins popping out. He looks in an extremely great condition. And, you know, like I said, I'm a people observer. And I personally told myself that day, if I had the chance to go with him, I'm going to show him the difference between your military training and all the training I've been doing the past. At this point, it was like year 5 of me training and fighting and stuff. So when my chance came to go with him, I'm like, maybe he'll put up a fight. You know, we're only in the gym, we're practicing. So maybe he'll show me something that I haven't seen before, since he's got military training, because before then I didn't watch nothing else he was doing.
Yeah.
But when I got to him and got a hold to him, it was like, man, you overhyped yourself for this, because I'm beating the brakes off of you. I'm throwing you around like a rag doll. You're big for no reason. Like, I was literally talking shit to him the whole time that, you know, we were grappling, and then when we were sparring, I literally talked shit to this guy, like, bro, like, you super overhyped yourself and you're trash. I haven't seen him since. Haven't seen him since.
You know what? Like, I've gone to different places that I've trained at, and it's like I go in and I'd just be like, they go, oh, have you trained before? Oh yeah, I kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I won't like, oh no, I've never trained before. I'll be like, yeah, this is what I've done. Like, but I'm not like going, yeah, man, I'd be sitting there and blah 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 submitting everyone. Because bro, I'll be honest, most of the times I've rolled, bro. And I'm telling you, because and this is where I think, like, this is the places where I've trained, where I've gone there. Most of the times, 98.99% of times, I was tapping out when we rolled jiu-jitsu. And I'm not ashamed to admit it, because that's how you learn when you're at that level and you're trying to get better. And when you start, like, it takes you it might go up against someone, and it takes you a little bit longer to tap out, or it might, you know what I mean? You might do the thing, and you start to develop that game, where jiu-jitsu is one of those things that's like, you're not going to just walk onto a jiu-jitsu mat, like, without ever doing it and be able to go, this is fucking easy as fuck. Like, no one's just going to walk on and be a natural black belt, bro. And I feel like there's a lot of MMA fans that sit there and go, oh, yeah, I could go out there and do the fucking, like, jiu-jitsu shit. Yeah, okay, bro. Yeah. You couldn't even fucking get your legs in a triangle position, bitch. Like, you know, for real.
Matt, hey, I feel the same way, too. All the outsiders trying to look in, oh, I could do that in 2 years' time for you to do that. That's what I say. Because me also, like, when I first started training, of course, I had my wrestling background, tough wrestling background, extensive. When I got to doing jiu-jitsu for the first time with a gi on, I got my ass thrown around like a rag doll. Like, I was surprised, because if we didn't have a gi on, the guys that I were going with, I was manhandling them and doing great shit. But when I got a gi on for the first time as a a beginner white belt, all that wrestling shit and wrestling knowledge that I had, man, with that gi on, that I have a famous saying, put that shit in a box, shake it up and throw it out the window. That's what I
Yeah.
had to do that's what I had to do the very first 5 minutes of putting on a gi for jiu-jitsu. And at that moment, after that class, man, I sat in my car for at least 20 minutes. Like, what the hell just happened to me in that class? I got ragdolled for the first time by somebody on the ground with a karate uniform on. That's what I called it back then. But I was like, man, my boy really whooped my ass in there today. Like, my pride and my feelings were hurt that day because I had never been treated like that on the ground ever by anyone. And from that day,
it's humbling.
Yeah, it was super humbling, especially me being a wrestler. And if we're not with that gi on, I'm with the shits and I'm running through everyone. But I'm telling you, I got that gi on. I was in a different world. I was lost. I was like that lonely jacket in the Lost and Found. I sat there forever, not knowing if my owner was coming back or not. Like that. That was mad wild, man. And from that day on, it was my journey, my vision, and my journey to learn me some jiu-jitsu. And now that I'm a blue belt right now, I should be at least a purple or close to being a brown. But COVID messed all that up. But I still do jiu-jitsu, just not competitive like I used to, or go to a jiu-jitsu class every single day like I used to before COVID. But I still give those guys fits. But I love that shit now. Like, jiu-jitsu is one of my favorite things to do because I'd rather do it with the gi on than no gi also. So, but at the same point in time, I'm torn between the two, and I like doing both. And jiu-jitsu is like wrestling. It'll humble you and it'll make you act a certain type of way. And, at the same point in time, they both go hand to hand, but they're different in its own too. And I like that knowledge that I get from it. And I just love martial arts in general, any combative sport, even though I fell off with watching MMA a lot because now all I do is watch like, bare knuckle fights and boxing fights and all the other types of mixed martial arts that are coming out these days. So, yeah.
Dude, like it's weird. Like I feel like jiu-jitsu, like gi jiu-jitsu with a Brazilian jiu-jitsu with a gi is almost like a different fucking sport altogether in no gi.
Facts.
Like it's like there's so many more different variations of chokes and submissions and shit like that.
Especially with like your gi on, like this right here can choke me. Like the first time that happened to me, I was like, "Oh, so you can choke me with this? Wow, that's wild! You just choked me out, and I'm gasping for air. What's my gi like? That's crazy."
I had that happen to me once, and it had like this girl did it to me. I was grappling, and I was like, "What the fuck? Why is my gi coming up here? Why is it? Hang on, what the fuck?" And next thing you know, like this thing's like wrapped around my neck like a noose, and she's got her foot on my shoulders like that, and just. And I'm just like,
"Oh man."
I'm like, I don't know what I like, bro. I was like, yeah, I'm tapping out. This is fucking too wild for me, bro. But we talk about some of those like cocky guys coming into the gym, like you mentioned the military guy that you were sort of ragdolling and stuff like that. And I feel like a majority of places, like when you have people like that coming in, the best way is to just go, okay, we're gonna humble you. Like we're gonna put you up against like, I don't know, someone like Demetrius Johnson. Yeah, go with the little guy over here. He'll go light on him. You know what I mean? Like, but I feel like that's the best way because like as soon as those people get humbled, I feel like then they can start respecting what it is that's actually there and showing respect to the place.
Facts, and me being one of those guys too, because like I said, when I first started jiu-jitsu, I didn't know what it was. I didn't respect it because, like I said, I didn't know what it was, but I got humbled very quickly when I put that gi on, very quickly, because my boy, his name is Antoine. He ragdolled me. He made me feel like I was a fish out of water. I mean, he beat me like I was a newborn that day with a smirk on his face. And I was like, man, this is so disrespectful. And my pride was hurt. Like, he beat my ass that day. Like, and that hurt me because I'm like, damn, if we're just wrestling, I'm beating the shit out of him. but I got this gi on today. He tore me up. Like, and man, and him, we're still great friends. We've been training together for a long time, 10 years plus now. And I'll bring that up to him sometime and he'll just get the biggest laugh about it. And, that shit's crazy. And I'm like, bro, like, remember when I first put on the gi? You beat the brakes off me that day, bro. Like, I've always remembered that. I hope you remember it too, because now I'll fuck you up. You feel what I'm saying?
You know what's funny? Like jiu-jitsu, I found like when I did it, like I always found it to be like the most fucking frustrating thing in the world. Like I would sit there and be like, motherfucker, fuck, 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 fuck. But then I'd find myself coming back the next day. And the next day, you know what I mean? Like this, it's this weird addiction for it. It's like you sit there and go, fuck, like, damn it. Like you get so frustrated, but it's like, it's like chess with your body. And that's the best way I've described it with people. And it's like, because when I started training, I started doing Japanese jiu-jitsu, and we would.
Oh man, that's fire,
dude. That's kind of like it's very similar to judo, and like, but we would sometimes do like grappling on the ground, and I'd like because I was training other stuff like mixed martial arts and stuff. So I was grappling these guys, going, "Oh man, this is great! I'm like rear naked choking black belts in Japanese jiu-jitsu," and then I went to like jiu-jitsu like session. And then I just got fucking smoked, bro, like all fucking day. Like, seriously, I'm sure they actually brought in like an 8-year-old and I tapped out to an 8-year-old. It was like.
Hey, man, it'd be like that, man. That's one of the joys of jiu-jitsu, man. It makes you think and it helps you it actually helps you with your reflexes too, man. Like naturally, like that's one of the differences that I noticed between wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu makes you, even though you got a lot of fast twitches and stuff with wrestling, with jiu-jitsu, man, you got to be on point. Like you can show them plan A, but you do plan B or plan C, and it makes you think, man. It puts your brain and your thoughts into a different perspective. It makes you actually think about all the shit that you learn in different type of situations. And that's one thing I also like about, bare knuckle also, because, with the evolution of bare knuckle and it growing so much now, they just had their BKFC 52 and they've had, prospect series in between that. And I fought on their very first Total Line event. And, they've had a lot of trials. I've attended 4 different tryouts, 1 to try out and 3 others to help out. And they had a tryout here in my city that I helped out with and, helped coordinate with and stuff like that, amongst other BKFC fighters that showed up. And, that's what I like about bare knuckle too, because it makes you think, man. It's like the stand-up version of jiu-jitsu. It's making you think. It's making you do think plan A but do plan B, or it's making you do plan C and do plan A, and it helps. I think it helps mentally too, man. Like that's one thing that I also say about bare knuckle. It's a science to it, and it's evolutionary lies, or however you say that. The evolution of it is growing each and every day, because if you look at the first bare knuckle event to the bare knuckle event that just happened, you can see the evolution of people striking, the evolution of how people are moving, the evolution of veterans like me. I just had my 9th BKFC fight, and it's like, man, look at everyone's journeys, man. Just like with martial arts too, look at someone's journey from the beginning till now, if they're still doing it. And you're probably just like me. You've seen people come and go over the years, and it's like, man, the people that are still around that are in your circle, or the people you still watch and do this sport, look at the evolution of their journey and the evolution of their combat sports game. You feel what I'm saying? And that's the 2 things I like the most about mixed martial arts right now, or combat sports in general, is bare knuckle stuff and doing jiu-jitsu. That is the main goals for the rest of my life. I say that now. I plan on retiring at some point, but not right now at all. But I'm not going to feel. I don't know how I'm going to feel when I retire from fighting, because I've been playing sports competitive sports since I was 5 years old. And I just don't know how I'm going to feel when I do have that point in time where I say I'm done with this. And I just don't know what I'm going to do with myself because I've been competitive for so long.
That's the hardest thing, man. I feel like for a lot of competitors when their time comes, you know what I mean? Like you see a lot of fighters, I feel like I don't want to say overstay their welcome, but they stick around a bit longer. And I always use Chuck Liddell as the example here. It's like to me when I started really getting into like mixed martial arts is when like Chuck Liddell was like straight smoking motherfuckers in like the early 2000s. And then it's like you see like his later fights, like when he's like fighting Rashad Evans, Rich Franklin. You know what I mean? Like he's like you can still see he's kind of still there, but it's not the same fighter. And it's like up until even when he came out of retirement, I was like, man, fuck. Like,
yeah, and that when at that point in time when Chuck Liddell got later into his career, that's about the same time that I got, really interested in mixed martial arts around 2007, 2008 range. Because I was in college at that point in time wrestling, and that's when I got introduced to it. So, Anderson Silva was the very first fighter that I ever watched in the UFC. And, that day I made him my favorite fighter just because it was the first fighter I ever seen. And matter of fact, the fight that he was fighting, I think it's the fight that he fought. Matter of fact, I think it's the one where he fought Rich Franklin, if I stand corrected, and knocked him out in the first, I think it was the first or second round at that point in time. And, I was like, man, I'm interested in this shit. Like, I'm going to do this one day. And look at me, 100 years later, I'm still here. And, to your point of not really overstaying a welcome, but when you get older, yeah, I mean, you lose certain abilities and you slow down a tad bit. I feel right now at this point, being at the age of 36, I feel great. Like I feel like I've gotten actually since I got certain injuries fixed. I feel like I'm faster. I feel like I'm better, and I feel like, of course, I've been doing it for a while and got the knowledge that I have, and been through all the training and stuff that I have, and got all the muscle memory. I feel like I'm at the point where I feel like I'm in my prime, the prime that I was when I first hit 25, or the first time when I turned 18 years old and I had my 18-year-old body and 18-year-old in college in shape. And I feel like that version of me at this point, even though it takes a little bit longer for injuries to heal and the soreness to go away, I feel better now than I did back then because, like I said, I'm 36 years old, and I feel like I'm at the very almost top of my game, and I'm in my prime. And this year for me has been a great, I think my best year of fighting combat sports in my life. I've shown a lot of things and brought back a lot of things that I hadn't showed in a long time. And, with, like they say, I seen somebody post last night on Facebook that their age in combat sports is starting to get to them and they can tell it. And I'm like, bro, you're only 28, 29 years old. How is age affecting you? Like, bro, you
know what? I feel like it, and to go back what I was saying about like fighters overstaying their welcome, it's like you can get older and age gracefully and continue to do this. I mean, you look at guys like Randy Couture, who was doing this into his 60s. You know what I mean? Like, and dominating at a high level. And then you've got guys like Dan Henderson. Fuck, you know what I mean? Like he was fucking like heavyweight, like beating fucking Fedor and fucking, you know what I mean? Guys at a high level at 40 plus years of age. So I don't necessarily. Like it's not every single person is like once they reach a certain age, it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna slow down. You're not gonna be the same sort of thing. I think it's based down on an individual basis. But it's like if you're just turning up and like being a tin can. And you know what I mean? Like, and you're putting yourself through this trauma of going through a fight camp, cutting weight, and then the brutality of whatever may come in that fight, that's when it needs to come down where someone needs to step in and go, listen, your day's
Facts,
not.
that's big facts. And I think also when some people, when they get upper in age or continue to fight into their 40s or 50s, sometimes I think for being in a sport and watching it for so long now, I feel like people get to the point where they turn off their training like it used to be. They still train, but only a little bit, but not as much as intense as they used to. And they just take fights because they're like, damn, I don't know what to do with myself. I still want to do it, but I don't want to do it. But then again, the fighter spirit in me wants to do it, so I'm going to do it. And I think those are the people who overstay their welcome. Now, if they're still training every day or 5 times a week or even 4 times a week at a very high and between medium to high intensity, I think those are the guys that still are fighting in their 40s and close to their 50s, like Henderson and some of those older guys, and even Anderson Silva per se, that still got it, but they're on the fence about it. They don't want to fully retire away from it, but they've done it for so long. It's just in them to do it. You feel what I'm saying? And that's how I feel like I'm still going to train at a high level while also helping my son out, because my son, he wrestles, and while focusing on him too, I feel like when everything's all said and done with me, that I think that my body's going to tell me no, but my mind, as R. Kelly would say, my mind would tell me yes to take a fight, but still train super high intensity to get ready for one, because that's, like I said, I've been competitive since I was 5 years old.
Yeah, I mean, but I think as well, it comes down to like what your body is also capable of doing as well. Like and as also what was the saying that I heard? It's like, it's hard to get up and go running at 5 a.m. in the rain when you're getting out of silk sheets. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you've been in the fight game and you've made that money, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's hard to get off that yacht and from going and partying to go into a fight camp. I'm sure,
I know that's right. And me, myself, I'm not that type of guy to go out and party and stuff. No. So I used to be, when I first started training, I used to be that guy to want to go drink and stuff and party with my knuckleheaded friends a lot still. But once I got deep into it, you can't do that all the time when you start, high intensity training, man, because that shit can mess you up. I went to practice one time on a weekend to train with some different guys after, drinking with my knuckleheaded friends the night before. And when I tell you that's not it, that shit was not it, because I was dying. I smelled like pure alcohol. I threw up several times, which was the worst. That was probably like the worst training session I ever had throughout my whole career, because I chose to do that. And I was still a young knucklehead at that point too, because, I'm just now starting to do this, and, I was trying to eliminate some of my bad habits, like hanging with my friends all the time and still being young minded and drinking and trying to party and then try to go train and stuff, or eating unhealthy food and then go train 20 minutes later. That shit is not it at all.
But that comes with, I feel like, experience and age. And as you get older, you get wiser and you mature to things, and you have these learning experiences as well. And I feel like when you're young, you want to go out and party and stuff like that, but going and then training and then backing it up, because, man, back in my training days, bro, I used to love training to the point of throwing up, but it's never to the point of going and training hungover. You think that's intense, bro? I don't know if you've ever gone and trained in Thailand, bro. You go and train over there with a hangover.
Man, that is definitely on my bucket list. One of my the trainers at my gym, he goes to Thailand religiously, and he spent 5 to 7 years living there. And man, that is one of my dream places to actually go to train and to fight there. That's on my bucket list. I want to fight in Thailand or go train in Thailand at least once before I'm done fighting. Or even when
Dude,
I'm done fighting and just go there to train and get that knowledge, man. Like I love watching stuff there. Even though it's a poor ass country, the fight lifestyle there is like religion.
well, it's almost like, you know how like football is for like Americans over there, like kind of like, you know
Hmm.
how, I don't know if you've heard of cricket, which is like Australia's national sport.
Hell yeah, I love some cricket, man.
Muay Thai is their thing, bro. Like that's the thing from
Hmm.
when they're little kids, they're in there like just grinding out, bro, like leg kicking and just chopping trees down with their legs and shit. It's crazy.
Man, look,
Beautiful country.
I will say this. I came to Australia when I was in high school to wrestle. And I will say this, y'all have some of the biggest bugs I've ever seen in my fucking life.
Yeah,
Jesus
man. We got
Christ.
some weird shit, bro. Whereabouts in Australia did you come?
We went to Sydney because there was a wrestling tournament there when I was in high school because I wrestled with Team Virginia when I was in 10th grade. And I actually got to go to Australia that summer. I got to go to Hawaii that summer and I got to wrestle at in Alaska that summer also. And man, I tell you, that's why I like Australia because it's hot
Yeah.
and I like kangaroos and weird animals, but y'all got some big ass bugs. Like that.
We got some big ass bugs, mosquitoes and shit like that. Like it's some wild shit, but it depends on where you go, man. Because everyone reckons like there's snakes and shit like that crawling around here, and there isn't really that many snakes. Like you
Man,
don't
look,
see,
I'm
well, depending
like
where you are.
yeah, I guess, but where we were at in Sydney, man, those bugs there make the bugs here look like they don't even exist. Like I seen a spider, and I was like, that spider's the size of a 6-month-old puppy. I'm out of here because I have a fear of spiders, anyways. Like if I see a
Yeah.
spider, I'm out. Like, and I'm like, man, they got some big ass bugs there. So, man, bump that. But I think Australia is a very beautiful place. I'd love to go there again. I actually want to fight there too one day too. Like I have 4 places that I would love to fight: Thailand, Africa, Japan, and Australia. Those are the 4 places I would love to fight or even train at. Like if I can get that off my bucket list, that would be perfect. While I'm still doing combat sports.
Dude, how is the fight game over in Africa?
Um, Man, whether people realize it or not, the fight game in Africa is actually bigger than people think it is because you of course the stereotypical thing of people to say about Africa, oh man, they're fighting lions and cheetahs and giraffes and shit. No, that man, there's some nasty ass athletes out of Africa. Like look at Francis Ngannou, look at
Mm.
Kamara Usman, look at guys like that, man. They have some amazing fucking athletes in Africa, and shit, anywhere, any country across seas, man. Like it's just some amazing athletes these days, man. Like, but yeah, the fight scene in Africa it's grown over the past 5 years. There's a lot of MMA promotions over there. I've seen some bare knuckle stuff there. It's like some underground bare knuckle stuff there on YouTube and stuff. And man, it's wild, like
Dude, you know what? Like
crazy.
a friend of mine showed me this wild Russian shit, and it's called
Hmm.
Street something. But it's like they've got these guys. They put in kind of like there's like fence railing sort of things all around it, and then they have
Yeah.
these guys go in there like like taped up, bare knuckled hands, and like
Hmm.
they fight. And some of these guys, man, like like pristine fucking like strikers, right? And like they're going down to the ground, and like my friends go, "Look at this shit, this is fucking wild." And I was sitting there going, "Yeah, this is all right." And then I'm like, "Wait, they're fighting on concrete, bro."
Yeah, that
And
shit's wild.
I'm like, that's like, I was sitting there, like, just like watching it like this. Like, it's almost like an eclipse of the sun. You don't want to fucking turn away from it. But it's like, but when they get taken down, they're like super fucking cautious of each other and shit. And as soon as they take each
Right.
other, it's like, boof, boof. But man, these motherfuckers were tough as nails, bro.
You,
Tough
you
as
talk
fuck.
about you talk about Russians, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll rush it, but they had these these motherfuckers from like all over like Europe and shit coming out of there, like Uruguay and all this sort of like, yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, Europeans in general are built different. Like when I was in high school, I wrestled a guy from Russia and at the Walt Disney Classic in Florida. I was only like 15 years old, and I swear this guy was a grown ass man wrestling children. He had a like almost a full beard, but they made him shave it. But this dude was as per se a high school wrestler. This dude was built like a whole ass 30-year-old man, and that's probably the only time in high school that I got mauled in a wrestling match by a grown ass man that said he was a child. And man, Europeans in general, I don't know. I think Europeans started combat sports in general because those motherfuckers are built different, especially Russians. Like, man, I've watched so much Russian fighting shit. Like, that should be the strongest military in the world because all the SWAT team shit and military shit that I've seen from Russians, man, they're jumping through windows feet first and diving in cars, diving off the top of buildings and doing flips and shit. Like, I don't know what they put in the water with those Europeans, man, across seas or anything in general, but it's some monster ass athletes over there. I tell you.
Tough as fucking nails as well, bro. Like, God damn, some of these guys are just, but like, even some of the fights and stuff that I saw on this show were just like, because I watched an entire show, like my buddy put this on, and I was just like, oh, like I was just blown away that anyone would go in it. Like, it was just next level of like I said, when it's different when you see it on like a canvas or on a mat or somewhere, it's like protected. But for me, it was like, that's where I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can fuck. It's just like, I don't know, man. I want to see someone getting fucking knocked out on their feet, land and crack their skull open. Like, I don't know. That's not really.
That's just wild.
Yeah.
Or when they I watched some Russian fights where they make the ring out of hay bales. They have hay bales surrounding it, and then they'll sprinkle a little bit of hay here and there on the ground to give some kind of support when you smack the ground. But those bare knuckle fights be wild as hell too, man. Those be crazy. Like, man, like I said, man, whatever's in the water across seas, they built different.
Oh, bro, no doubt, man. Like, but I feel like that's even the underground fights that you've seen pop up as well. Like, you've seen fighters come out and start careers off that sort of shit. Like Game Bred Fighting Championship. Like, I think that is one of the coolest things I've seen with the bare knuckle MMA. I think that's going to be like some big level shit.
Hell yeah, I'd love to do that one day because me being an MMA guy and a bare knuckle guy and putting that shit together to use all my weapons, I don't think nobody be able to beat me that way. Just to be quite honest.
Oh, dude.
And I've been wanting to try that. Actually, this guy that I just fought, if I wouldn't have beat him up so bad, that's what we were going to run him back and do that, fight bare knuckle MMA. But from where he's messed up so bad, we probably won't rematch each other for a very long time because he's got to have multiple surgeries on his nose, and he's got some hefty cuts on his face. I'm sure they're healed by now, but with his nose, he's gonna not be able to fight or compete for at least 6 to 8 months. So, but that's what we were gonna do because that fight card, the Game Bred bare knuckle fight card, is actually in 2-3 weeks from now, and we both told each other no matter the outcome of this fight, if we're both still healthy after this fight, we can run it back and do bare knuckle MMA because bare knuckle MMA. We fought bare knuckle BKFC in my hometown, well, my backyard basically, but we were gonna fight each other again in his backyard for bare knuckle MMA, and man, I kind of wish that could have been happening, but it'll happen when the time comes. But we shall see. But I'd love to do bare knuckle MMA. Like I said, I feel like nobody's going to be able to beat me that way, because in MMA I'm known for my wrestling and my leg kicks. Like my leg kicks are like badass, and you know. I'm used to taking people out with my leg kicks. They used to call me horse legs when I first learned how to kick the proper way, because it took me up to 10 MMA fights to even throw my first kick, to be quite
Really?
honest. Yes, it took me 10 amateur MMA fights before I threw my first kick, because I had never kicked anybody except for playing around with my friends, just like bullshit kicking them in the leg or something, but that wasn't proper. And I told myself while training, I'm not going to throw a kick in a fight ever until I learn how to throw a kick properly. And like I said, it took me up to 10 amateur MMA fights to throw my very first kick. And when I landed that very first kick in a fight, it was glorious. It shocked my opponent, because when you're planning for somebody that doesn't throw leg kicks, you're not going to expect for that person to throw a leg kick. And the kick that I threw was the question mark kick. It started at the bottom and landed at the top. It messed him up badly. Like it was wild. And from then on, like, leg kicks were my shit. Like when I landed that first leg kicks were my shit after that. And when I get new people in my gym, I always tell them, after your first week of training here, I'm going to put you to a test. And my test is you get 10 leg kicks from me to each leg. If you can survive that, and come back on Monday, I'll put more time into you, and you will last at this gym. And so far, let's just say it's been an epic fail that nobody's been able to handle the leg kicks.
Man, bro, fuck. Like that's the one thing and
it's not even hard leg kicks either. It's like a 30% leg kick. I'm not winding it up or getting in my form of just blasting you with it. I'm just standing in front of you and hitting you with 10, 25 to 30% leg kicks, because if I hit you with a full leg kick, it's going to be done within the first kick. And I don't want to do that to people that first come to the gym. You feel what I'm saying? I'll give them the 25 to 30% kick to let them know this is what a real kick is going to feel like at a low rate. You feel, and a low rate of speed. But if I hit you with a real one, it's going to take you out. And some of the guys that I train with, I'll give them a full fight day leg kick. Like,
but those are people that can take it. You know what I mean? Like you have, like,
yes, sir.
The guy that's just sort of going, "Hey, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to come into your kickboxing class." You're not going to kick the shit out of him.
Yeah, those people, I won't. Those kind of people, I will not do that to, because they're there for a different type of reason. They want to lose the weight, they want to get in shape, and they want nothing else to do with martial arts. Period. They just want to come to the gym and lift, and get some weight management, and get some knowledge on how to lose the weight and keep it off and shit like that, and get a good workout in. You feel what I'm saying? But if they want to join the MMA class or the Muay Thai class or the Jiu-Jitsu class or the boxing class at my gym, you're going to be put. I'm not going to throw you to the wolves, and neither are the other coaches going to throw you to the wolves, but you will be put through the ringer to let you know that this is different than being the average person walking out on the streets.
Yeah, it's not like a boxer size class at your local Anytime Fitness.
I was going to say Planet Fitness, but Anytime Fitness will work too. It's the same thing.
Hey, that's it, bro. But man, like, we've been going for nearly an hour and a half here, man, and this conversation's just flown by, bro. Like, I've had an absolute ball talking to you, bro. And I'd love to get you back on for a part 2 sometime down the line if you're down for it. I'm
always down to do a podcast, man, for sure. I love it.
That's it, man. But listen, where can everyone find you on social media? Where can you want to give your sponsors a shout out as well?
I'm gonna get my sponsors out first. Hold on, I got my poster. I made sure I had my poster right here in front of me today, because usually I got a decent sized list. So first of all, I want to shout out to MBST Corporation. It's a clean and environmental service company. 1111 Lounge, Certified Fighter, Queen Anne's Revenge Tattoo. They've been one of my sponsors since the beginning. They've been with me since I started churning. Savage Combat Sports. That's actually me and two of my guys that I train with. That's our apparel brand. Roanoke Area Wrestling, Curious Flavors, Team Just Blaze, Card Stock Exchange, Mama Nikki's, Dreamland Organics, Star City Pest Control and Wildlife, El Rio Mexican Grill, Squealing Performance, and Fusion CBD. Man, this is a long list, but I think I got most of them. Those are the bigger ones.
That's it, man. Where can people find you on social media, bro?
You can find me at Brian Maxwell 12 on Instagram. You can find me as Brian Maxwell MMA Fighter. That's my fan page on Facebook, and you can find me on Twitter at the real Brian Maxwell. That's all the social medias I have. But you know, a lot of my followers are on Instagram. That's where my biggest following is, and my next biggest following is actually on TikTok. My TikTok is starting to grow because one of my videos actually just hit 1.3 million views on TikTok and on Instagram from my previous fight. So that's actually starting to grow and pop a little bit more too. So that's where you can find me. But shout out to my family, my friends, all my training partners throughout the years and until today. And, you know, I appreciate you for actually messaging me back about joining on the podcast because, like I said, I love doing podcasts. I like interviewing people and I like being interviewed because that's one thing about podcasts. We have a lot of shit to talk about. You feel what I'm saying?
100%.
And that's why this one's lasted so long. When I get on a podcast, I already let them know, like, hey, look, if we're here for 25, 30 minutes, it's not going to happen that way because it's going to end up being an hour plus.
Yeah, man. Hey, that's just, man, I love those podcasts, man, where, like, as I said, like, we're sitting here, the time is just flowing by, man, and honestly, I've really had a great time. I think the audience is going to absolutely love this as well. And, man, we're definitely going to hit a part 2, man. But listen, make sure you go and support Brian Maxwell. Go and check out Mr. Red Rims on all of his social media account. Make sure you go and check out our sponsor for tonight's episode, which is healthvape.com. But you've been watching the greatest podcast in the world, Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I am the truth, Piers Austin. Till next time, take care. All the best. Mwah. Peace.